Yeah, I think once again, Grapes, thank you so much. We do have a lot to talk about again today because it was another grind of a game. Maybe a little bit less messy this time around, but definitely another slow burn. But AoE, this time around, they were able to take it, and I think it's clear they were forced to adapt and draft. Game number 1, they picked full comfort. Game number 2, they were forced to branch out a little bit. So, Lux, tell us about sort of some of the changes that they made and how they worked. And I think there is a glaring one down there in the support position, maybe.
Yes, I like this proactive comp they picked. I like the Vi. I honestly haven't seen this. You guys said that they played it in a previous game.
Two
the Vi
weeks
support.
ago, yep.
Yeah, and it was undefeated or out of the one game. So I think it's cool. I like the aggressive pick versus Yuumi. When you pick Yuumi, you don't have a body there. Yuumi is on top of you, so there's literally no one there down there with you. And I like the aggressive pick. It was good. I like it.
Yeah, for sure. I think Skytech is happy to really defend that undefeated Vi. Now a bit of a sample size. 2-0 on it. It definitely has worked out. I mean, clearly going just for let's make plays, let's engage fights, let's make things happen. And they were able to do that. And we were sort of talking about this during the game on the desk. It was a similar story to game number 1 in the sense that it was AoE with a similar game plan, playing really heavily around bot, invading the jungle a lot, getting ahead, but not insurmountably so. And EG, they fought back a little bit. And Veteran, sort of walk us through this first replay that we have where EG does manage to get quite a few kills.
Yeah, I mean, the early game plan from AoE was very centered around shutting down Mia. But the issue is that if you're overextending like this, suddenly Yuumi, who doesn't really have any proper engage, does have good counter engage, and Poppy in scenarios where you're moving straight into them can be very, very good heal to enable this comp. Maya ends up actually getting kills on like the very lowest amount of HP possible there. She is almost entirely denied the first 2 waves on bot side of the level 1 play, but AoE's extension here allows EG to start getting back into the game and start scaling. Both Twitch and Corki are very, very strong scalers, and Yuumi is a very, very good buffer for both of them. So you give them the ability to do counter engages. That's when EG's composition can suddenly be strong, because otherwise it doesn't have the Ashe that we saw last game, it doesn't have the MF, it doesn't have the Zoe, it doesn't have these ways to be proactive themselves. All that proactivity, as Lux said, was entirely on the side of AoE.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that counter engage, because we actually saw it right there, right? Yukino, at that point, the trundle for Winnie, excuse me, was the, not Willie, Winnie was the only one really with the kills. He had a lot of the gold on AoE, and he got knocked out by the Keeper's Verdict right there. But AoE, from this point forward, and maybe to their credit, it didn't really feel like they gave EGP the opportunity to go for the counter engages, because their engages just became so freaking fast, as we can see in this fight, Lux.
Yeah, so in this fight, what we were talking about, their engages, the Vi, here in just a second, gets a crazy flank here behind and kind of just eliminates anything that Yuumi might be disengaging. She just punches Twitch and Quirky and puts them both pretty low, pretty much one-shots the Twitch instantly, and their whole game plan is pretty ruined by this Skytech engage. So that was game turning for sure.
Yeah, and the crazy thing to me is and I didn't see this when we watched this live actually, was that they actually saw Skytech in that bush. They knew he was there, but Skytech was just able to come in so fast. There was nothing that they could really do, and the Vial on the Twitch knocked the Yuumi out of her dash. And hung her completely out to dry as well. So like little things like that you don't really notice when you watch live, but make it such a good engage. And credit to Skytech for finding such creative engages again. We talked about his ability to counter engage last time, but it really does feel like this is a player that is so comfortable on these playmakers. But I don't want to spend too much time talking about the game that we just saw, because it was a little bit more cut and dry. AoE were able to take a win, but we need to now look at where we stand. It is 1-1 in the series. AoE no longer undefeated in PGCQ2. They have made 3 consecutive semifinals at every single prior PGCQ this entire year. Now on the ropes, game 3 against the Evil Geniuses Prodigies. I sort of just want to turn it over to you guys. Lux, I'll go to you first. Where do we feel like the winning formula is for both these teams? Because we've seen a couple different looks, and it feels like it's been mixed results throughout both games. And specifically, game 1, EGP, it worked out for them. Game 2, AoE. So, Lux, I want to see where we think these teams need to go either in draft or in their game plan to give themselves the best chance of winning.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing here is that AoE definitely likes to play aggressive early game and likes to play stuff that's engaging, running at you, overall aggressive play style. So I think EG should respond with the same type of thing, an equally aggressive play style, or they have to pick something that can do like they did the first game, which is kind of stall out until they're able to get a little bit of scaling and play the game that they want to play. I also think that EG definitely needs to focus on Phasal. I think he seems like the strong point in the series, and he's been performing really well. So if they can get him ahead, I think like we saw in the first game, it was super key. So I don't know. They look really competitive right now, but I do think that it's aggressiveness in this series. That's the key here.
So get yourself some agency, maybe fight some fire with fire.
Yeah.
Awesome. Veteran, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely especially agree on that last point. I think that what was lacking in their last composition was that it didn't have multiple points of engage. We found frequently in these amateur tournaments when fights go like this, when there are loads of team fights, that it's the idiot-proof, heavy crowd control compositions that play out properly. That Ashe was really good for them. Maybe they can find some kind of engaged champ like that. That would be really good for them to take the final game, which I still believe that they can. I also, please, just 5-man stack bot side at this point. Like, the standard fans, Maya's had a play on her both the games. They're clearly targeting her. Let's make sure she gets through the early phase, so it's not just a maybe they should have always played around Faisal story, because she is really good. Just make sure she gets economy the whole game.
Right.
True,
well,
true.
Before we get underway here, I'm going to do one more word association with you guys, and this is maybe me giving everyone here an out if we want to change our ideas. We've seen 2 games now with these 2 teams playing. The word is Game 3. What's the first thought you have, Veteran?
Evil geniuses.
Evil geniuses sticking with your guns. What about you, Lux?
Same. I'm sticking with my predictions.
I like to
EG.
see it. I love to see it. Stick with the predictions, stick with your guns. And you know what? I think it's fair because it has been such a competitive series. But we are going to get underway with game number 3, the one to decide them all, the one to send these teams to semifinals, the one that determines potentially EG's fate in Proving Ground seeding. Grapes and Smacks, take it away.
Thank you very much, Hawk. You mentioned a lot of the stakes, a lot of the potential, repercussions of the outcome of this game. But honestly, Smacks, I'm just excited to see another game of League of Legends between these 2 teams because it has been so high level, so incredibly fun back and forth gameplay from both these sides. And we're going to see a bit of a deviation for this final matchup. Evil Geniuses swapping over to blue side, which opens up a lot of different opportunities for them as we head into the draft.
Super close series so far, and yeah, this could be the thing that really shifts the momentum entirely into Evil Genius's side. It seems like both of our analysts are really favoring the EG side of things, so if that says anything, then maybe EGP have something to be excited about in this next game. Something that I'm really excited about, by the way, I did predict AoE, as we can see right here. We're kind of
like
split
you're
on that, Grapes.
Bit of an AoE fan. You got both of them going on.
Yeah, actually, if we can pull that one up one more time, we're split on both of the AOE the series. You're an AOE hater.
I guess I'm an AoE hater. Yeah, I'm sorry, Kobe and everybody else over at AoE. Still big fans, of course, but hey, you got to do what you got to do in terms of making the predictions happen. We'll see if it ends up coming to bite me, or if not, maybe I'll end up pulling ahead of you just a little bit, Smacks. But going back to what we were talking about, draft, very important here for both of these games. We saw a whole lot of different wildcards being thrown. The Vi, the Shyvana, back and forth. And we might see another one, especially now that the sides have been swapped.
Yeah, I think for Evil Geniuses, now that they are on that blue side, they can secure a really powerful first pick for themselves. Whatever they decide that is going to be, I think is going to be really impactful for the rest of the draft here. Like maybe something like a Senna can be locked in for Evil Geniuses. I think that would completely shift everything that they're looking to do. There is still that possibility that they go for something like an Olaf for a Faisal that was not banned away in the last game, and with AoE moving over to the red side, there's a lot more pressure on them to ban away things that they think are really safe in all of these situations, and I think for Faisal, that might be one of them.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't get targeted super heavily in that last game. Of course, opted for the Gnar when things like the Olaf were still available into the Fiora. But now on the blue side, some different opportunities to be available. The one thing, of course, that Seraphine has been banned by Evil Genius's Prodigies in both the games, which now, flipping over to the blue side as being this sort of OP pick that a lot of people consider, it is, opening up a couple of other options for EGP to try and take away.
Ooh, yeah, AoE gonna be forced to ban that one themselves. It just provides way too many options for Evil Geniuses. They can send that one mid, they can send it bot with a Centipair, they can make it the support even if they really want to, so definitely want to remove that away from a very flexible team like Evil Geniuses Prodigies that has just a lot of very creative drafting decisions that they can make. Speaking of blind picks that are really powerful on the first pick here for blue side, could just immediately go for the Poppy again. I've been liking it from Yukino. He hasn't had the easiest time in the early game against Winnie, but I think his late game team fights have been really wonderful for him so far.
Yeah, normally you think of Poppy as being a really early game focused jungler that can get for the ganks, but we see, again, Yukino being able to utilize it in really creative ways, especially with the Keeper's Verdict to try and deny a lot of the engage potential and get numbers advantages for EGP, which has been kind of the name of the game when we're talking about how they like to function with these compositions. Zeri, once again, hitting the ban table, this time by AoE. So despite Lynx having an insane game on it this time around, want to make sure that it's not B1able by EGP.
This is what I was talking about. You have to take away a lot of the champions that you think are just really generally strong when you're on that red side in the first phase. So something that Evil Genius Prodigies clearly are taking note of as they do move over to this blue in general. Fiora is off the board for Zamudo, so perhaps just looking for more teamfight participation from Zamudo and trying to keep him outside of that side lane, and most importantly, bring Faisal more to those 5v5s where he does typically shine.
Wasn't necessarily the option last time around. With that Fiora ban, again, opening up that opportunity. Senna was a pick that EGP decided not to opt for when they had the opportunity to in game number 2, but it looks like they're not going to be given that choice. But this is not what I was expecting at all. This is a B1 blind pick Sylas for Doxa. I mean, this is definitely a champion he's good at, don't get me wrong, but it could be a potential point of attack for AoE.
In this alongside the Sylas ban from last game tells us something that I think is really telling just of these two teams in general, and they've probably prepared with each other a little bit throughout the season. Like, you expect these teams to be scrimming against each other, and what probably happened based on this is that Doxa has just been doing very well with the Sylas in their specific scrims. This is, of course, completely baseless. I have no idea what's going on in those, but very well could be going on, and that's why it has been first picked and banned away in the other games.
Yeah, it's I guess it's the tech. It's kind of figuring it out, right? I guess Doxa must have a really good win rate against AoE on the Sylas. That's the only kind of conclusion we can draw here from this first pick.
Wow.
We're seeing a lot of different stuff come out from both of these teams already. It's going to be the Aphelios for Lynx, which is not a pick that has been necessarily super high on the bot lane tier list for a long period of time. And in response, an old but gold pick for EGP is that Ezreal Karma for me and Donbre.
A lot of poke in that lane. Maybe something that you can use to put Lynx further behind than you did in the last game, because that was something that Winnie just did such a great job of previously, where Lynx was just so far ahead just right from the get-go on the first wave. However, AoE now have a bigger win condition in the mid lane, with Young locking in his Irelia. What a treat we have for us today on the Academy stream, Grapes. I cannot wait to get into a Young Irelia game. It's just so fun every single time.
I want to say, Zamudo plays the Irelia as well. If you want to go back, way back to UPL Summer 2021, Vexo Esports, shout out Taki and the boys, Zamudo whipped out this Irelia a bunch of times and absolutely smurfed on kids all day long. Of course, the Irelia has been something that AoE have been relying more on Young. We saw it, I think, against TBA in their match to get into the quarterfinals, but definitely still flexible. Of course, no other soul laner has been locked in just yet. And, with some of the options potentially being taken off the board, like the Olaf, who knows what happens right now.
We're getting a lot of respect in these last few bans here at Grapes. We have the Olaf and the Vi taken away. No Olaf or Faisal, no Vi or Skytech. And this is a very respectful Olaf ban, because there's already a Trundle on AoE's team, the best champion to play into the Olaf. They still don't want any of the smoke. So I absolutely love that. I do want to point out, with this Irelia and the Trundle already locked in, somebody's going to need to deal magic damage on the side of AoE. Whether that is Zamuda or Young, if that is going to be an Irelia flex, it has to come from somewhere. So for AoE, we'll find out what that's going to be. Maybe Skytech's got it in him. Maybe something like a Zyra can come out. I don't know. But they do need something.
No, Zanya's Vi doesn't work out. It's banned away. But Shyvana still available potentially as well. If Zamuda wants to kind of give Bice a little bit of a taste of his own medicine from game number 1, could be an option. Very safe, blindable top laner that we could see on the R4. As the Ornn, another one of those cases, was already taken away by Evil Genius's Prodigy. Zamuda, very flexible top lane player. Wouldn't be surprised to see the lock-in right now. And it is exactly what a lot of people were expecting. But no, it's going to be the Gwen lock-in. So there's the magic damage you were talking about, man.
I think they acknowledged that issue, and they also acknowledged that they didn't ban Shyvana, which is another issue if you're going to select the Gangplank, as we already saw in the first game. So this is a good adaptation. I'm much more enthused about this composition for AoE now that I know that they have this magic damage. Is a bit of a sigh of relief for me. So we'll see what this last pick is going to be from Skytech, because he hasn't locked in support yet. I personally really love counterpicking support, but they already have known that it's going to be Karma for a very long time. So they're valuing the counterpick of the entire comp for Skytech. They're also valuing getting this Gwen over anything else for their top laner, because maybe this is the only thing that they're really comfortable playing for the magic damage side of things up there. But regardless, they're against Gnar.
At the moment, the one concern I have maybe for AoE is they could get outranged a little bit with three melees, and the FL things like the Ezreal, Karma, and the Lilia that has now been locked in for EGP really do a good job at combating that. Maybe for the likes of Skytech, something like a Yuumi, something like a Lulu to get just a little bit of extra range could be impactful, as it is another pick that goes well with the Aphelios and also is something right up Skytech's alley.
Like the Lilia for EGP, there's a lot of melee champions on the side of AoE. Irelia is almost certainly going to engage on your champions, and you got an Ezreal. Ezreal's likely going to be safe, so your front line is really going to be the big targets from the Irelia. And if there's a Lilia there, all of a sudden things get really awkward for Young the entire game. So I think that's a really smart pick for Yukino. It's a different champion than what we've seen already from him. It's not the Poppy. It's likely not going to be going for the early ganks and more focused on the farming style of things. And yeah, I think it's just overall a solid pick.
I mean, Lilia still for the the Raptor invades. We were talking about how the chickens kind of continued to get counter jungled all the time in that last game. Could see it happen again in here with the Lilia lock-in, but it is Skytech Rakan to lock in for the final pick of this series, Max. And it opens up a lot of engage. This question about range still potentially exists. AoE are either going to have to find a really good engage from Skytech or a really nice flank from one of their solo laners to win a fight.
We'll say, this is one of the nicest team comps to play Rakan into. I always love a couple of things with Rakan. One, if you're not the only champion to be in the front. If you're the only champion in frontline as Rakan, you're very sad, because then you almost certainly have to be the solo engage, and Rakan has so much more to offer than that. You know, he's a multifaceted guy. He can't just only be used for the engage, he does everything. So I like that. I also like having just a lot of mobile champions on my team when I'm playing Rakan, like the Irelia, where you can bounce around with the battle dance and just traverse every aspect of this game. I think this is a really fun Rakan comp, and I'm glad to see that it's in Skytech's wheelhouse. Big fan.
Big fan indeed. Big fan of both of these teams. How about that? As we are on to the Rift. Game number 3 between what could be one of the most competitive quarterfinal matchups that we see here in the Proving Ground Circuit Qualifier. Evil Geniuses, Prodigies, and AoE Esports have thrown haymaker after haymaker at each other. And we're about to see the final spark conclude here in this game number 3.
Final spark? There's no Lux in this game, Grapes. You silly goose.
I just noticed that. I like said it, and then I was like, that's Lux. And that could have been a reference if it was locked in. But it is not.
I like all the frosty looking skins here for Evil Geniuses, by the way. They've got the winter ones all around.
Lux is on.
There is a Lux here!
There is a Lux.
All along! It was a
all
reference
planned.
to our analyst! Oh my god, that's wonderful.
Now I can just make as many Lux references as I want, and they will always be relevant, as well as at least for the duration of today. I don't know how many more I got in me, but you know.
Did you see her light in the background, by the way?
It was,
it's got her own name. That's so cool. It's like a
streamer setup 10 out of 10.
Signature thing. I'm so jealous. That'd be so cool.
Nice little smacks along the back. Same
I
four
don't think
letters,
I've
four
ever,
letters
like-
as well.
Yeah, it'd be good. We both ended in X as well. Maybe I need to talk to her about where she got it. See if I can do the same thing.
Yeah.
But
It'd be
anyway,
it'd be a nice play, nice upgrade.
yeah. In this game, we're already seeing the poke come out onto the AoE members, the Ezreal and the Karma. Pretty brutal to play against, and I imagine that is why Winnie is already on this bottom side of the map. He has not been full clearing in any of the games with his first clear, and I don't think that trend is going to stop right now. He's got these pretty vulnerable laners down here. Maybe I'm wrong, but I personally would really appreciate a gank if I'm the Rakan. You know, come on down, Winnie. Free us.
You got some personal experience there, I guess.
I do,
to speak
yeah.
for how that ends up working out. Somebody who is probably going to be full clearing a little bit better is Yukino onto the red buff right now, but you already see Young going for a really aggressive invade for that ward. It's going to spot out Yukino as he heads towards the top side of his jungle, just all but confirming that it was just a full clear on the bot side. Maybe allows for Winnie to get a couple of opportunities as well.
Okay, here's where things start to get tricky for Winnie. Is he, like I said, there's no chance he's going for a full clear. That's just not what Winnie does. He's going into the enemy team's jungle. He's spotted out where Yukino is, and now he's on
Chomp.
the camp.
Okay. It does get smited away by Yukino, but a brilliant use of the pillar will buy so much time. Flashing the follow, Winnie will take down the deer. First blood for AoE.
Man, there's just no stopping him. Winnie on a rampage again. This time, he's just a self-made man. He gets one word from Young, but he's not helping out any lanes by doing this. He's just going in completely for his own, going for all of these camps. There's no way for Yukino to enter in on this jungle, and Winnie does it a third game in a row.
Lilia does a good job with the range against Trundle later on, but in the early game, 1v1, definitely going to be Winnie favored every single time. As we can see already, the two camps taken on the top side quadrant for the likes of Winnie, as well as the Scuttle Crab, and could be going for another gank as well. Young looking potentially for that stun in onto Doxa. Bone plating already popped. A nice abscond to get away.
It's a good try, and it does pressure Doxa slightly further here in this lane. It looks like Young already has a slight CS advantage, so doing a pretty good job already in that lane. We did get the first push to even drop the ward to begin with, so we're already seeing Young on one of his comfort picks. I feel like I've said that about so many of these AoE players here, but they've got all of their comfort picks just like in these drafts every single time. They play around it so well, and they have a lot of reps on a lot of different champions for these different players.
Yeah, and always a good thing for both, making progress in the amateur space as well as showing yourself off for potential higher levels of competition, which is kind of the main point about Proving Grounds, what a lot of these players end up striving for, especially at this level of play. And really nice to see a lot of really high skilled play, a lot of, I think, highly, cerebral play coming out from these guys as well.
There's one thing about Winnie, he do be thinking. He be thinking a lot.
Thinking a lot, yeah.
He already
You
got
see
that first
back
blood.
a couple of minutes ago, Yukino walked into the top side jungle to try and find something, and kind of just sadly pranced away because when he just stole all the camps. Really looking really good right now for AoE, and at least in terms of the jungle category.
You want to know a fun fact? The
Yes, hit
the
me.
red buff on red side has not been taken yet.
Winnie has not gone for it.
Doesn't need it. Going for the dragon camp instead. The dragon camp gives your entire team a buff. That red buff over there only gives himself.
It kind of speaks volumes to what AoE are trying to do in this game, right? They're trying to focus again, maybe towards the bottom side of the map a little bit, allow for Winnie to go for aggressive plays all the way through, and of course they have a pushing mid lane, maybe the bot lane not as advantageous for themselves, and maybe Yukino gets a little bit of, some return as he will be heading over to the top side to steal away some camps.
So Yukino doesn't even think that the red buff's up.
I know.
Just
assumes
he's
it's
like,
gone.
oh yeah, that's definitely dead. There's no way that's up. And you can't blame him for that either. Of course.
Why would it not be? Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Just-
it's still there. He had the opportunity.
Just sitting there
6
for a
minutes
little
now.
bit. We're just gonna keep
Good
counting, I guess. Ultimate advantage here for Faisal up in the top lane, and now Yukino with the presence around top lane, could go for a dive. Zamudo does not have the needle work just yet, has the ghost to try to escape, finally unlocking it with a taking the cannon minion, and now the dive could be a little bit harder to execute, picking up one and trying to get another. Faisal has to run for the hills finally, with the boomerang will secure the 1-for-1, but now Winnie here with the pillar, forcing the flash away from the Gnar.
He's gonna get baited.
Here in the waits, in comes the flash, here comes the knockup, Faisal getting ignited, and Faisal going down. SkyTech making it 3-1 AoE.
What a roam from SkyTech. Such heads up play over there. They had the read that they were on the dragon for such a long time. The Yukino was definitely on that top side. Absolutely correct. Look at this. They're already making this movement. If you look at the mini-map down there for SkyTech, they already are going for this. They know that something is going to happen to Zamudo, and they need to be there to counteract this. They don't account for Zamudo being a total smurf and finding a 1v2 kill underneath this turret to make it favorable even before this roam actually happens. But the fact that SkyTech is here, he does not get punished for being here. His play is rewarded, and they find a second kill, AoE up again in this game.
And after diving top, after getting dove top, Zamudo becomes the leader in XP, which is not normally something that is supposed to happen when you're playing this game, but goes to show how nicely played that was. Of course, hitting that level 6 at just the right time and healing up a Storm with both the Conqueror and the 1,000 Cuts passive. Doing a really good job right now. Top lane focus, again, is what we were discussing at the start of this series. And it's looking pretty good for AoE right now.
Holy moly, is that a 12-2 record on Irelia?
I feel like there's a lot of
insane.
champions, a lot of players where they just have this one champion that they just never lose on. It was like Victor for
Yeah.
APA. It's Aurelia, I guess, for Young. Could be caught out as well here, though, as the Lilting Lullaby does come out. Nice usage of the W to keep himself alive and healthy for the moment. SkyTech here to disengage, and it looks like EGP don't get a damn thing.
I'd be scared of this Irelia if I saw that win record. If I'm if I'm Evil Genius's Prodigies, that is super worrying for the trend of this series and their hopes of locking in that top 6 for Proving Grounds. But we'll see what they can do to counteract it. Already trying to pressure Young on this Irelia in the mid lane. Again, not going super well. Doxa still down in CS in the isolated matchup even before all these ganks came through.
Now the Herald started up here by Evil Genius's Prodigies. SkyTech landing the knockup and on the Doxa to potentially start a fight. The numbers advantage is in favor of EG for the moment, as Faisal is still around the top side of the map. So the Herald will be disengaged from, but AoE, I try to make a play around here. SkyTech will get spotted on a ward, means Faisal will have to run away. It looks like all that pressure for no objective being taken.
I think the best thing that AoE could possibly do here is force the Mega and then walk immediately right back to the Herald. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're forcing the wave underneath the turret. There's no way that Faisal cannot get his ultimate if he wants to kill those minions. Now they have everything they could possibly want when it comes to this Herald. As long as they wait for Faisal's ultimate to be done, which they haven't done yet.
They might not give the opportunity to. In comes the ulti, but it goes just wide. SkyTech will get stunned up, and without that sort of escape, will be going down as Dawnbray locks him up. But now the rest of EGP picking up that one kill, headed back to the Rift Herald. Lynx thought about roaming up to try and give this one a go, but it looks like the objective will just go over to the Prodigies.
He may have scooped up air with the Gnar ultimate, but the wallop was brutal on top of SkyTech. Very difficult to lock down that champion. Again, I should know, I'm a big Rakan player myself. And if I get knocked up by a wallop when I'm in the middle of Grand Entrance, all I can do is just sit back and slow clap. Just like, yep, you got me. I can't do anything else. Outplayed me.
It's like almost a prediction,
Nice job.
yeah. Really nicely done by Faisal. On the Gnar, not a champion that we were expecting to see a lot in this series, I would expect, but doing a really good job, at least in the early game right now. Team fighting as well throughout that second game, despite the loss coming through. And we'll look to try and be that game-winning factor to get themselves into the semifinals. The Rift Herald was secured by Yukino. We'll look to try and place it somewhere on this map to get a little bit of extra gold, a little bit of extra pressure onto his team side. And for AoE, they're still up in gold, still up in kills, but have to try to continue to make some plays happen to keep themselves in the game.
Those might be on to this dragon right now, as AoE already have it at half HP. No jungler super close for Evil Genius's Prodigies, means this is very likely going to just be smited by AoE, and there it is. That's 2 dragons now. Infernal Soul yet again. We saw it in the first series, or the first game, I should say. This time, AoE have a pretty large advantage when it comes to that, and can certainly secure that one for themselves. You ever played against an Infernal Soul Lilia, though? You ever played against that? Oh, wait.
Oh, what?
Dombre is dead.
So yeah, I think I've played against an Infernal Soul Lilia a couple of times. It was not fun, especially with the Swirl Seeds coming out.
It's not fun at all. Let's see how much fun Dombre had on this
Probably not a lot.
journey
I
into
can
the
imagine.
jungle. All right, so what crowd control does he get hit by?
Okay. Charm, stun.
Was he on a ward?
There's a lot of
then?
them.
He must have been.
It's funny because Donbray.
Yeah, okay,
that was
there
something
it
that
is.
AOE. Yeah, ward right there.
Okay.
And the Scuttle Crab potentially as well. I'm not entirely sure.
No, he wasn't on the Scuttle Crab. It would have needed to be a ward, but it absolutely was that. And SkyTech, yep, had the ultimate. You can tell that he was warded because the ultimate was used even before Dombre was envisioned just naturally by the champion. So good play from AoE, and yeah, can't be super reckless when it comes to the Karma gameplay and warding.
Yeah, at least without a lot of support, which Dombre might have a little bit more of here as the Rift Herald has been popped down in the bottom lane. We'll get about 3 plates, I think all 3 of them secured. Eventually, as this final... Okay, I don't know exactly if it went through, but still a lot of gold going into Mia, having a pretty solid game of her own, staying even in CS, staying in a really good spot. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, another engage potentially in the works. Faisal has unlocked that Mega Gnar, going to use the ulti defensively to try to get himself away. Zamudo still has his ghost, but decides not to chase even with Winnie in the works.
There are, again, some times where you can just tell what's going on before it even happens, and Faisal certainly knew that something was awry when Zamudo was continuing to fight him, even though Zamudo was losing the health advantage. So, good read there from Faisal. Definitely knew that Winnie was around, or at least someone. It could have been Sky.
Still there.
I guess.
Okay, does Faisal try to go for the extended push? That's when AoE to try to go for it. Okay, this probably signals something. Oh, they're waiting for the TP. This is so smart. Faisal has no idea that Winnie's in there right now, and here he comes. Here comes the 1v2. The hop is not available just yet. Finally will be used to get over the pillar, and in comes Young as well. The flawless duet not in range. The ghost has been popped here by Zamudo. It will be the flash burn from Faisal as well. So the timing used just for that summoner spell out of the enemy top laner.
The summoner spell is what they were looking for, I feel, right there. It's shocking to me that Faisal's boomerang actually did manage to hit Young on the backswing to actually slow him enough to where they couldn't continue the chase. But regardless, with all those members up in the top lane, it gives Evil Genius's Prodigies all the time they need on this bottom lane turret, and I believe they even get it without the plates.
Yeah, Yukino now has to run away. Could be a bit of a respite for the turret going down. Lilting Lullaby lands onto 2, but Winnie is so strong in the front line, keeping his bot lane alive. Donbray has to use the blast cone to try and escape, and now EG forced to run for the hills with Young about to arrive to the bottom lane. They do get the tower, and they are now in the gold lead by about 1,000.
Definitely looked more dangerous than it ended up being for Evil Genius's Prodigies, but they get literally everything they could possibly want on that play. The first turret, everything onto Mia, and she's going for the earlier spike of the Mythic as well. This Trinity Force build gives you a lot right away, a lot of attack speed specifically over the other build, which is the Muramana Essence Reaver. So let's see if she can use that in these extended fights, as there are going to be a lot of melee champions on top of her, so maybe more attack speed makes more sense in that regard.
Seems to be doing a good job right now. Again, we saw just barely landing the last auto in before the place ended up falling, so just getting a little bit of extra economic advantage for herself. And yeah, with that first item completed, working towards the second, looking really good right now, and will eventually become a really strong late game carry, which wasn't something that we were able to see last time around because of how far behind she was in the early game.
Not the case this time. They are setting up for this dragon on the side of Evil Genius's Prodigies. They got 3 members trying to jockey for positioning on this and clearing out some wards. They don't actually commit to killing that control ward, not knowing who all was waiting behind it. But you can see that the team is shifting down regardless. They have Yukino going for one last camp before he makes his way over to this Drake. And Faisal already in position, trying to stack some rage. And we'll see if this Mega Gnar is just going to be enough to push AoE Esports outside of the range of this, alongside with the positioning that EG definitely already has at their disposal.
AoE though, were in position to get the first 2 Drakes of the game, which put themselves again in a good position to try to keep the snowball rolling, or at least extend the game a little bit longer if EG still remain with that control. Dragon has ended up spawning AoE on the outside looking in. They want to go in quick and watch SkyTech on the flank.
Yeah, I don't think they know he's there. Okay, they do now. He is on a ward. SkyTech is spotted as they are pinging him out tremendously well. See Faisal still looking for Rage. I believe it is actually petering off a little bit, so
yeah,
needs to find something to hit, I think. Maybe the blue buff.
Maybe? Okay, they're just going to go for it. EG finally kind of breaking this game of chicken and starting up the Infernal Dragon. Mia clearing out this mid lane wave, will be able to arrive to the fight sooner rather than later, but now 50-50 could potentially be opening up. AoE looking for the chase, watch SkyTech in with the Flash Brand entrance, entering with the quickness as well, as Yukino will fall first. It is a 1-for-1, and now Evil Genius's Prodigies is looking for a bunch of damage. Faisal with the double kill, but Zamudo has been unlocked, has the needlework in his back pocket. That is a 3v3 that has opened up. Jungler still alive for AoE, but they are the ones pressured out of the Dragon Pit.
Nice usage of the E.
Mudo,
I don't know if they have
a really big
damage.
front line right now. Winnie can go for the smite, but EGP could try to burst down the jungler first. Mia forced to flash away as she arcane shifted in aggressively, and now Lynx with the red and blue gun looking to try to do the work, but gets bursted down by Mia, and Doxa in onto the back line trying to finish off the kills. Zamudo lands the final blow onto him, and a 2v2 has opened up. Can Mia win the fight for EGP? The Dragon is getting so low, and it will be secured by Winnie. Now, can the chase continue for Mia? She is essentially the only lone survivor with a couple of Karma Shields in her pocket, and they get the kill onto Winnie. Mia and Donbray save the fight for EGP.
I always get so nervous in Ezreal teamfights. I have no idea why, but Mia just continuously makes me nervous every time she's moving forward. She's got the E though. She's safe every single time, and Donbray also just so low. But the Drake does still get secured by AoE, and SkyTech still is playing these supports like assassins. He's on vision, but he just doesn't care. Quickness, flash, grand entrance onto this backline, and specifically onto the jungler. There's no way that Yukino can play in the rest of this team fight, and he dies before he can even use the lilting lullaby. He dies when it's still up, and that is a massive difference maker in the outcome of the rest of this team fight.
See Doxa play a bit of assassin. Rakan himself, he steals the ultimate away, looking for the damage in onto the likes of Lynx, but is unable to find much. The teleport comes in from Zamudo. It is all but a teleport to disengage. The rest of EG don't want to fight at the numbers disadvantage.
Flash there on Lynx. Still a good play for Evil Geniuses. Even though AoE had a nice play in response to make sure that they didn't get anything more. But yeah, that teleport's big cooldown. Teleport for Zamudo means he can't really stay in that side lane against the Gnar if they want to go for any more of these objectives.
Oh my god.
I think there's a Rift Herald still up, even though it's 19 minutes, so maybe that's something
get it.
to play for.
It will probably go down unless a fight ends up breaking out. AoE maybe looking for a pick onto Doxa instead of going for that second Shelly. Will face check the bush, has to use the dash to get away. Instead, has to go forward in onto Young. The Vanguard's edge stolen away, but the kill is secured. Now watch Faisal, still has the Mega Gnar looking for the stun. Is not able to find it until just now. And now AoE are bursted down. They have the Lilting Lullaby onto 3. Yukino with a massive engage, and that is a double kill in for Faisal. Lynx trying to do the work, but will not find a thing. A kill finally secured by Donbray. It is 4 kills to none on the side of Evil Genius's Prodigies. 4 kills to 1, sorry.
And the teleport that they blew earlier is so impactful because Zamudo is just not in this fight whatsoever. It's a teleport difference here because Gnar is able to arrive to this play, and Faisal is the difference maker. Look at this ultimate onto 2 members. Sets up for the sleep that Yukino so expertly drops again. And even Dombray's ultimate is great here because he cuts off the escape path from Lynx going through the icy slow field. There's no way for AoE to play out the rest of that team fight. The only bad thing for EG is that they didn't do it 30 seconds later when the Baron spawned.
Yeah, they did lose Doxa, but really nice setup by him to keep his team in a good position for the re-engage. Faisal now 6-2-1 on the Gnar. 2 completed items already for himself, and is becoming a lot stronger than he did in game number 2 on this champion.
Mia has just now hit the Muramana spike. This is effectively as strong as you're going to get on Ezreal when you go for this build. You have You have a lot of items that help you slightly later on, like you like the slow from Grudge, but this is the part of the game where you are effectively the strongest champion on the entire map. So we have to see what Evil Geniuses can do with this. They are into a lot of these melee champions that don't have tremendous amounts of sustain unless they're actually in a team fight. So the poke is going to land and it's going to stay for the most part. We'll see if that's going to matter. ZG have this gigantic gold lead. They're still taking structures off of this rift, and they're really trying to play for, one, the Baron, but also the denial of the soul.
And that's going to become a really big issue, Smacks, because in 1 minute, AoE could get that Infernal Soul. So much more damage on top of what they already are able to provide, and that could be the difference maker in a fight that was won by EGP last time around. And you already see the setup beginning to happen here. Look at the blue side, look at the blue vision, sorry, on the bot side of the map. Evil Geniuses have a whole lot of setup around this dragon pit. They know that this is a fight that they have to play and they have to win, and they're already trying to set up, even though it's still about 30 seconds before the objective even spawns.
The
chilling.
assassin Rakan lies in wait.
Speaking of which,
Oh no, there's
was
a
Skytech-
ward. I think he's dead.
oh, he's getting TP'd on. Here comes Doxa. All right, this is the assassin play. Skytech with the great escape. And he buy enough time. Yeah, cue the Benny Hill, as he actually will buy a lot of time. So Dox is going to be going on this solo mission, which actually means it's a 4v4 potentially for AoE Esports around this Infernal Soul that could work in their favor. Here comes the back. They not have vision on this. Is Dox going to get away? Okay.
Oh
Chains
my
will land.
god.
We're still going. We're still chasing. We're still running for the hills for Skytech. And she's making a lot of work here, but take a look at this. EGP, they do end up securing the dragon on the backside as well, so it didn't actually end up paying off for them too much. What is going on? He's still running. Okay, he will die. Okay.
He got
Hey,
a flash for that.
Skytech's cute, like tabbing, clicking the flash like 6 times, spamming it in chat. Nicely done by Skytech.
Oh
but
my god.
regardless, it still is the dragon going over to EGP. They delay the soul somehow for the likes of AoE Esports, who didn't feel comfortable to go for that fight because their main engaged source was not in the running with Skytech.
Well, he really tried there. You got to give it to Skytech. He really tried to find the angle, and his team clearly trusts in him enough to where he's allowed to do that, and their team is not just like, dude, you are absolutely trolling. Press the recall button right now.
Guys, trust me, this is gonna work. It's gonna be great.
He
Fortunately
needs some
not.
teammates like that.
You just needed a little bit more patience to just stay in that bush for a tad longer. Speaking of, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Smax, but wasn't Skytech the one that like reached really high elo playing AP Rakan mid? Is it him?
Maybe. I wouldn't be too surprised, considering the
I know
champions that he
there's
plays.
I know there's one player around that was that person. I don't remember exactly who it was. It might have been Skytech, which kind of makes sense. Kind of what we were talking about earlier, like an assassin player at heart, but support player on the Rift.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you can tell even on the Rakan, he is still being an assassin in this game. So I'm having a great time. I think he's going for the Zonias on Rakan. I have to say, better item on Rakan than it is on Vi. I'm gonna say it. I don't think it's controversial. Maybe to Skytech it is.
You buy more time to escape because there's more escape potential on the Rakan than there is on the Vi. So
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely agree
Maybe
with you there.
AP ratios.
Yeah, I mean, AP Rakan, kind of a mini version of that, I guess, that we could potentially see here.
Pretty fun stuff. We have Evil Geniuses Prodigies. They're going for a lot of siege at the same time. Faisal taking a significant chunk out of the bot lane turret. And this is, again, a position where if Zamudo was playing that Fiora that was banned away, then it might be more difficult for him, for Faisal, I should say, to play in this side lane. But he's got the range advantage here, and he doesn't have to worry about the extra sustain that the Fiora has this time. Like, Gwen has some, but it's not tremendous.
Yeah, I think only really mattering if you're attacking the champions, I believe, alongside that Riftmaker. So not as much as the Fiora, but Zamudo still trying to be a factor here in the side lane, as he kind of was in game number 1, which led to AoE taking that game to victory. Of course, this is a very tense game at the moment. We've hit a bit of a lull in terms of the kills going down, but you can feel the tension between these two teams. It's game 3 of what has been a crazy series back and forth of both of these teams. you're taking a look at these major objectives at being the next point where a 5v5 could erupt, and that could be what sends a team to the semifinals.
Flash Force from Winnie. This could be the engage they're looking for. They've got a lot of members here, but the purple
Winnie's
gun
tanky.
is so
Oh,
nice.
look at the Gravitum. Winnie is going to survive as well. The Ignite barely not enough to finish off the Trundle, but now the jungler is forced to back for AoE. EGP going to start up this Baron.
Yeah, we absolutely know this is happening, but they don't have a lot to respond to it with
Winnie.
in terms of their smite. Oh, Winnie.
Dang.
He didn't even recall. He knows he needs to be here for this. He doesn't have flash, so I don't know how he's going to get into this pit.
Baron's at 5,000 HP. Looks like EG trying to peel off of it for now. In comes the Gale Force
Oh!
for Lynx, and that's the engage that SkyTech was looking for. AoE turning the fight around, Winnie with the reset to keep himself up at high HP. Visol gets blocked by the ward, can't use the blast cone to escape. Shut down into the hands of SkyTech and Yukino and Donbray are the lone survivors. AoE Esports find a massive engage, and they're going to take the Baron as well.
That may have just been the best Rakan play I have ever seen. From second one to second last. Whoa, we have to watch that one more time. SkyTech is actually 1v9 in this game. Show us the clip. Show us the Rakan glory. I cannot wait to watch this again. He actually is able to find the engage onto literally everybody.
It
What?
was a great play by SkyTech. I mean, the setup, though, I think was from Lynx. You saw the Gale Force into the Gravitum, root onto Mia, which set everybody up into this massive position. We're going to hit the replay in a little bit, but first, there's
no
a little
time.
bit more action that we have to determine here. Docs are going to get caught up by the stun immediately following the teleport, healing up a lot, but finally will go down to the hands of Young and AoE, pushing forward 5 strong. Young at about half HP. Zamudo with the needlework in use. Yukino forcing that stopwatch, has a 3-man sleep, but nobody here to try and follow up. Finally, gets the burst in. SkyTech forcing to pop the stopwatch of his own. Dragon has been started up. Lynx flashing forward, trying to get the kills onto Mia, and that will be the assassination onto the Ezreal. A double kill as Winnie locks down Donbray as well. Yukino and Zamudo in a duel around the Dragon Pit, but it will be AoE Esports that secure the Infernal Soul.
Or will it? Yes, it will. Yukino can't get in. He just dies, and all of the momentum from Evil Genius's Prodigies is now completely out the window. They lose the Baron, they lose 2 consecutive team fights, they don't have the Infernal Soul, and Visol, he might get ran down under this turret.
A good 1v1 for him, but not when the numbers are in AoE's favor. They are going to continue to push with the Baron buff. Another wave of minions coming in soon pursuit. Won't be enough to break open that mid-tier 2. But AoE Esports are starting to smell a victory. They're starting to smell the semifinals, smell a date with the 100 Thieves next in the finals if they both end up going through. That's exactly what they wanted at the end of the day.
AoE Esports have not lost a series to anybody except for 100 Thieves next this year. See if they can keep that trend going. Those last 2 exchanges were just so magnificent. I'm still amazed by how well SkyTech played that first one, because he had the engage and then the ward to stop the blast cone as well. Like, he's literally doing everything right in these team fights. Oh man, I'm so proud of him.
All right, I think we're going to get the replay finally. It is the one around the Baron buff. Watch Lynx and then watch SkyTech on this play.
Okay, I can't wait to see what you're talking about here with Lynx. Oh my, yeah, that was crazy. And then this knock-up onto everybody, charming everyone, setting up for the Irelia. These 2 champions have so much synergy together. And then look at the ward, there it is. Boop. You can't click the blast cone anymore, Faisal. That's for AoE now. Wow.
What a
Can't believe
game,
it.
what a performance this series coming out from SkyTech. Had the Vi support, all the crazy angles of game number 2. And it's showing up on the Rakan, his signature pick here in game number 3. It could be what send AoE to that semifinals. Of course, still a little bit of work to be done, as they have not actually broken open an inner turret just yet in this game, despite being at a pretty significant lead. They're going to try to find one now, Winnie chasing forward, landing the pillar onto Mia, who we forced to shift away, as Lynx now gets rain over the top tier 2. Oh, here comes the stun. Faisal getting chunked out. Here comes the engage from SkyTech as well, and Faisal goes down to the likes of Young. Finally, the turret will be broken open. Watch the middle on the flank. It's a 4v5 for AoE. The health bar is definitely in EG's favor, though, as Mia can still do a lot of damage, shifting forward, trying to be the hero in this game, sending EGP back to the semifinals. But Lynx again with the Gale Force will not be enough, as the shutdown does go in onto Yukino, but the damage from AoE is just too strong. They continue to chase down the likes of Evil Geniuses. Prodigies winning now on a rampage. It is only Doxa alive, as AoE Esports might have sent themselves over to the semifinals.
Mia was trying her best to deal all of that damage in the last team fight, but everyone was dropping like flies, and she dropped as well. Trying to end the game right now, AoE Esports, they still have 3 members. There's no minions left alive, but they can see the semifinals.
Doxa now half HP. Young trying to heal up here with the Blade Surges. Lynx at full HP as well. The Everfrost goes wide. Young still has a Guardian Angel on top of him, but Doxa keeping EGP alive in this game for the moment. But now Young dashes forward. Doxa forced to pop. The Zonia's hourglass and will go down. But now has bought enough time for Faisal to arrive to the fight, trying to build up the rage before he goes in for the play, landing the boomerangs with all of his might. Well, Lynx has so much range. He has the Calibrum, and now the chase will start to come through. Mia and Donbray have respawned. Lynx gonna not land the stun in on the Faisal as well. And it looks like AoE will barely be able to escape. But the game, surprisingly, has not ended just yet. EGP staying alive.
Doxa made sure of that one. EG are still in this game. It's just not for long, I feel. AoE Esports are doing so much work in every single one of these team fights. Everyone is doing their part, too. Like I said before, that Skytech was 1v9. I may be exaggerating. I may be showing a little bit of support bias, like you said before. I'm willing to admit that, because everyone else on AoE is doing so much here. Lynx, the damage on this Aphelios is so filthy, and he's playing a 3rd unique champion in 3 games, every single one of them topping those damage charts and doing every single thing he possibly can in these fights. I'm telling you, man, the time that he had playing support in Collegiate, it's the boot camp. You gotta play support.
And Skytech, I think, coached Lynx as well throughout the CLO run as well.
True.
So it's just a double synergy working here for AoE Esports, as they're gonna look to close this game out. Baron buff spawning in 5 seconds. Mia going to get locked in by the slow. The root comes out. There comes Skytech from the other side of the map, and Mia will get bursted down. Dawnbreak gonna follow as well. Here comes Skytech with another knock-up in. Here comes Yukino in with the stopwatch, but it's not enough. The damage is big, but not big enough. Doxa missing out on the spawn abduct and will go down. A double kill into the hands of Zamudo, and now Faisal will be forced to run back to his base, and that's where he will remain for the remainder of this series, for the remainder of Proving Ground Circuit Qualifier number 2. Young landing in the final blows, Blade surging forward, and Skytech, the one who started it all, might be the one to finish the job for AoE Esports.
Reverse sweeping in the quarterfinals. AoE Esports keep their series streak alive. 5-0 in the OQ, 4-0 in group stage, and now 2-1 in the quarterfinals. We'll see you in semis on Monday, AoE.
That was maybe one of the greatest series I have ever had the pleasure of watching. So what an incredible set of games. High level of play coming out from both teams. It really seemed like anyone could have taken this on their good day, but at the end of the day, it is AoE, the one who won their group, going on to the semifinals to face the winner of Fear versus Taco Gaming.
I'm still just so proud of Skytech in this series, man. He broke out the Vi. He's playing Rakan also. Playing both of them like the assassin player that I know he is. Oh, man. Yes. I'm just... all the
Skytech's the
dopamine.
MVP.
Yes.
Got the
absolutely
Vi.
he is.
Got the Rakan. Everyone else played a crucial factor as well. You know, when I was looking at AoE's team composition for this game, the one kind of concern that I had, Max, was that maybe the engage is a little bit harder to come by. It relies incredibly much on Skytech, but not only was Skytech able to provide incredible amounts of engage for his team, but other people as well found the opportunities, whether it was Lynx with the Gale Forces forward, or whether it was Young landing some crazy stuns. Everybody on AoE played their part, and that is what sent them over to the semifinals.
And this time, the bottom lane didn't have that absurd amount of pressure provided them by Winnie. It was mostly just the two of them playing around that lane, and I absolutely love that for them. They're still showing that they're really competent in just the isolated 2v2 matchup. They don't need Winnie there at their beck and call every single time. It's helpful, obviously, after that second game, but they don't need it. They still have all this synergy together. They still have all this damage they can provide in these team fights, and they still have all these very creative ways they can start every single exchange. It felt like the purple gun was available at the exact perfect time every single one of these team fights, directly on top of Mia's head, the one who's dealing most of the damage for Evil Genius's Prodigies. And it's stuff like that that is allowing AoE to keep that streak alive and keep their playoffs run going.
And the spot in the championship, of course, already locked in for the top 6, but they just want the bragging rights at this point. They want to secure themselves as one of the best teams here in Amateur. Make all the Academy teams shake a little bit as we head into Proving Grounds. And for EGP, really great series coming out from them, but now their fate is in the hands of other teams. The spot between the top 6 and the top 10, kind of results on some of the other series that we have coming on later today. And still not entirely sure what the implications of that are, but we'll make sure to update all of you as we continue to find out more. But that is the end of the series for us and coverage for us here on the caster desk. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Hawk going to be talking to SkyTech about how they got that dub.
And welcome to the interview room, where I am, of course, joined by the support of AoE Esports, SkyTech, and what an exciting series that was. I've got to ask, from the person that was on the other side of the keyboard, how are you feeling after that win?
Not gonna lie, I was a bit nervous going against, the former org and the stakes of the game, but I feel really good because I feel like I was a big difference maker in some of those team fights. The game just came down to, a lot of team fights, so I felt like I made a big part in those engages, and I just feel really good to do it with my friends, my boys.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say you were a difference maker in those team fights. Those engages were pretty freaking crazy, but when, you mentioned you used to be on Evil Geniuses, a member of the organization on the Academy roster, and I'm kind of curious, what does it mean to you to now take down their Prodigies roster, make your second consecutive semifinals, and play on this extremely prolific AoE Esports roster?
Obviously, it feels really good. I think my time on EG Academy, I didn't necessarily play the best that I could be. I don't think that representation indicates how good I am as a player. Feel like it just felt really good. I don't know how to respond to the question. It just feels good.
Yeah, I mean, that's more than fair. You don't have to have more than a response other than that it feels good, and I can see why. So now I've got to ask, you're now 2-0 on Vi's support, which is a statement that I didn't really think I was gonna utter on this broadcast, but and I don't want you to give too much away, so feel free to answer with as much or as little detail as you like, but I'm so curious as to what's the technology here with the Vi support? What's the read with this?
To answer your question concisely without giving, can't give away the strats.
Right, of course, yeah.
I think it's kind of like Nautilus, but you have more opportunities to flank late game, which I like.
Interesting. Okay, very, very cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You got some of that reliable hard engage and everything. I can see that working out, but I guess the last question I really have for you is now, again, going to the second consecutive semifinals. You're going to be playing the winner of Cincinnati Fear and Taco Gaming, which is coming up here next on the stream. Any sort of pre-match expectations? Any sort of trash talk? I don't know. Anything you want to say about that match?
I'm gonna be honest, I was more scared of EGP than whoever
Ooh.
Fear, Taco Gaming. I don't even know.
All right.
If you look top to bot on their roster, I feel like we outmatch them everywhere, even in the coach position, even in the water boy position, we're just so much better.
Ooh.
So I don't really care until we face 100x. Remember, that's not that bad either.
I like to hear it. And you guys are coming for 100x this time, I'm sure. Awesome. I love to hear it. SkyTech, thank you so much for the interview. Congratulations again on the win. I look forward to seeing you play next week and in the Proving Grounds tournament later this month.
Thank you. Love you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're back here on the desk. A nice short and sweet interview, but some great answers, I think, from SkyTech to get a little bit of insight into this AoE roster. Seems like they were having a lot of fun in that game, maybe a bit of nerves, and I think rightfully so, because wow, what a close series that was. Evil Geniuses Prodigies, they definitely made them work for it, and I think SkyTech was rightfully afraid of this roster. I know you guys were super high on it. You predicted the 2-1 correctly, but unfortunately, it did go my way with AoE finding the win. Veteran, I see you shaking your head. What's on your mind?
I mean, I wanted agency in the draft, and I got less of it somehow. The only real engage they had here was Gnar. That was also the only real disengage that they had. At least I could see with Yuumi, Poppy, and Gnar in the previous draft that they had some ways to capitalize on extensions here. This was full poke. I even understand how Silas is supposed to survive against the composition on the right. I did like Skytech's Rakan into the Ezreal. He has enough dashes to counter Ezreal, E, and Flash, so I do like that from him here, but ultimately this just wasn't it. The EGP chose a very, very difficult draft in terms of execution, which is the opposite of the kind of idiot-proofing I wanted to see from them.
Yeah, and Lux, I'll turn this over to you potentially as well. I'm curious about, you know, I heard you talking about this during the game, where EG, it just feels like their champions just didn't like do as much as AoEs in terms of the draft, and maybe you can expand upon that idea.
I mean, I agree with Veteran. I feel like they should have gone, like, they kind of tried to go aggressive, but it wasn't in the right way. They should have picked something that was easier to execute, like a Hecarim, or, I mean, not that Hecarim's like too good this patch, but you know what I'm saying, like something that's just,
right,
you run at them, you use all your abilities, you're good to go, you know, just something easy to execute. Because I do feel like the Lilia, the Sylas, these are hard things to, you know, you have to set up for them to actually get stuff done. So I feel like, especially we saw how Winnie was running into the jungle and killing Yukino on the Lilia, which not ideal for an early game Lilia, and it does take quite a bit of setup, and you want to get some items, get some farm on Lilia. So yeah, I pretty much just agree. I think that they wanted to go for the aggression, but it may not have been in those particular picks.
Yeah, and you mentioned that thing about Winnie finding that first blood solo kill onto Yukino. Veteran rightfully was spotlighting the jungle matchup before our first game, and I think it really was such a focus. Winnie just constantly living in Yukino's jungle, but to your guys' point about the agency thing, when EGP was running forward, when the Ezreal was kiting forward, poking out AoE, it feels like they looked so good. But the problem was, it was really hard for them to actually get the game into a state where that happened. However, they did do it occasionally, as we can see from this first replay, Veteran.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, the times where they were able to do that were the times where the cooldowns were already blown on the side of AoE. So here you already see Rakan doesn't have his cooldowns, Trundle immediately blows R, Irelia immediately blows R, Gwen doesn't have a cooldown, so all we have left is Aphelios. Maya isn't even in the fight yet. She joins now, and Lynx doesn't have the right guns, gets off the ultimate, but is not able to trap Maya or anything like that. Maya had free reign here, and Ezreal with no real CC threats, which is amazing given the composition AoE have, there are actually a decent amount of threats they could have on her, was able to pelt around the outskirts of the fight unabated and win that fight in the long term. These fights go on for a long time, Ezreal can definitely win it, but that precludes an AoE that wasn't able to get the lockdown and burst on her that they need at the start.
Yeah, and I feel like it kind of feels bad. You mentioned, right, like, EGP, they were able to have this great fight, but only after AoE had burned everything onto the Sylas. That really is unfortunate. But for the second replay, I mean, Lux, you can break this one down for us, because I mean, we already looked at it in live, but it deserves to be played again. It is our interviewees' pretty big superstar moment as EGP, they find a good chunk onto Winnie, they start the bear, and they think they can turn the game in their favor. But Skytech finds the fight.
And then we've got Skytech coming in for this crazy Rakan engage. And what I love about Skytech's engages in the last two games is that he has dictated the pace of the fight so well, which EG wants to have this long and drawn-out fight, and you can see they put the ward there, so Gnar cannot get out with the blast cone there. But Skytech runs in, he's saying, we're fighting right now. There's no time to set up your fight. There's no time to set up a Lilia ult. There's no time to set up a Karma poke, an Ezreal poke. He's going to instantly push the go button, and the fight ends pretty much instantly. We saw that last game too. So I think that's really good of Skytech to pull the trigger, and, you know, the fights just go so fast that EG has no time to set up.
For sure. And I feel like it's telling that for both this game and game number 2, the game deciding replays that we showed were both just like Skytech engages that came through like this. First on the Vi and then on the Rakan. Really impressive stuff from the support of AoE. And the coordination there too, to say that we're going to go despite our jungler being chunked out, I feel like bodes very well. But before we send it to our break between the series, we're going to take a step back now. The hype's dying down. AoE has advanced to the semifinals. EGP no longer controls their own destiny as far as making top 6 seeding for Proving Grounds. They have made top 10 guaranteed, so they will be going to the tournament, but top 6 means that you skip the play-in match, which, for those of you that don't know, the play-in match is a single elimination best of 3 against an academy team to get into the main tournament. If you lose, you are done. Otherwise, if you get top 6, you're already into the double elimination bracket, so it is a pretty big milestone to meet. EGP, again, no longer controls their own destiny. They're going to be hoping that Taco Gaming loses to Cincinnati Fear later today. So we'll be keeping our eyes on that. But any closing thoughts? Veteran, I'll turn it over to you first on AoE Esports up against Evil Geniuses Prodigies.
I think that for me, the most improved player from last split to this split is by far Winnie. I think every single series so far in this tournament, he has brought out something new. He's gone from, oh, well, now he's doing a lot of his early game pathing himself. He's playing his reactive play to facilitate the team, into, oh, he's doing this and he's playing really heavily around the neutrals, into what we saw today, which was he's playing jungle matchup. He's playing to shut down the enemy's win cons. He's playing no kind of binary style. He's doing what is best for the game, and that is a very, very impressive thing to see at this level. And especially having seen Winnie's improvements over the course of the year, it's very well deserved for him to get a victory like this over such a major team like EGP. Really, really happy for the guy. Very happy for the performance he was able to show today.
For sure. It feels like he's been such a consistent playmaker for this team. And Lux, any final thoughts before we close out and send to the break?
I just want to say I do think in EG's favor, they played team fights really well. I think their team fighting is honestly one of the best aspects after watching these games here. And I think if they just up their synergy a little bit, you know, a little bit more in tune and maybe up the drafts level just a little bit, they can become a really, really amazing team, which they already are, but even better, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, always, I feel like bowing out twice in quarterfinals, maybe not the results they wanted to see, but you can see that spark. You can see the potential that this team can rise to. Love both those points. Absolutely. We're going to send it to a quick break. But when we come back, we will have the second series of the day. Cincinnati Fear up against Taco Gaming. You guys will not want to miss this. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few.